Hey, girlfriend. It's your girl, Melissa, with the Hey, Girlfriend podcast. And I want to welcome you back to season 3 of the podcast, Help, I'm Wounded. As you know, we have been on our healing journey because this is our healing girl era. And on today's episode, we will be answering the question, why do I keep attracting toxic people? And addressing why we enter into toxic relationships. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships. I'm talking about the relationships you have with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, and even church folk. Yes, I said it. Church folk. So I want to tell you this. If you listen to this full episode, you will awaken. But if you take it a step further and apply the tips and tricks that I have for you today, you will be able to say, it ends with me, and your bloodline will be forever grateful. All right, girlfriend, let's get to healing. Hey, girlfriend. So we're on a healing journey. How's it going? How you feeling? I'm glad you're back. Okay, so if you've been following the series, you know we have been talking about father wounds and mother wounds and how they affect our current day living and our relationships if they are left unhealed. So today, we're going to talk about the patterns those wounds often create, specifically why we keep attracting toxic people and the why behind entertaining toxic relationships. Now, when I'm talking relationships, I'm not just talking romantic relationships, okay? I'm talking friendships because friendships can be toxic. Family members can be toxic. I'm talking coworkers or your work relationships because they can be toxic. And even church folk, okay? Even church folk can be toxic. Toxic church culture does exist, okay? So if you've ever asked yourself, why does this keep happening to me? This episode is for you. So let's start with the why. Why do we attract toxic people or find ourselves in unhealthy relationships over and over again? One major reason is this. We attract what we haven't healed. When we have unhealed wounds, especially those rooted in childhood, they can subconsciously guide our choices. This is what we're used to, or this is what it looks like. This is what, we saw growing up. We don't know any other way, okay? Think about it. Some of you listening may not have even known that you had a father wound or a mother wound until you heard the episodes where I talked about what it looks like and how it manifests through your behavior. I know this because this was me, right? This is me, y'all. This was me. So what I'm saying is, if you don't know that you have a wound, how will you heal it? How will you change? You won't. You need to awaken first, right? So we need to awaken to the wound. And today we're going to awaken to the whys, okay? Now let's look at some examples. So if you had a parent who was emotionally unavailable, you may be drawn to people who are unavailable emotionally, okay? They may be very distant, or they treat you very cold, and you'll go for that because that feels familiar. It may not feel good, but it feels familiar. And then you try to change them. Like, okay, well, I'm going to change them. I know I'm going to take on this project. Okay, I'm going to do this DIY. I'm going to take on this project and I'm going to help them become emotionally available. Or you just stick around because you think like, oh, they'll see my worth eventually and it'll change them. No, it's not. No, it won't. Okay. And let me say this, that's toxic. Okay. So we we are in this toxic exchange because what they're doing is toxic. And then if we are doing these things, right, if we're trying to change them, if we're trying to win them over, that's toxic. And that's just keeping toxic cycles going. We're not doing that no more. We're not doing that no more. Okay? If you were taught that love had to be earned like through your performance or through perfection, you very well are probably tolerating people who only affirm you when you're actually doing something for them, okay, where they benefit out of things, right? Which is leaving you perfectly groomed to be manipulated and controlled by them. I'm just going to say 2 words, people pleasing, and that is toxic. That is toxic, and we're not doing that no more either. I know this one too well. Too well. I'm a recovered people pleaser, though. We don't do that no more. That's not my portion. That's not my portion, okay? So if you grew up being guilted or manipulated, your nervous system has now been programmed to confuse those feelings with connection. Like you'll think that's connection. That is toxic. That is toxic, and we are not doing that anymore, okay? And let me say another thing. You will attract the unhealed, the unhealed parts of you, but also what I've noticed as the things that I've healed from, and I would say like this healing journey, there really is layers to it because we are constantly we're becoming better, we're ascending, we become higher. But anyway, even the healed versions of you will attract these things because I'm telling you, they be coming knocking on the door trying to see, like, let me see if they're going to let me in. These toxic cycles are looking for a way to invade your bloodline. It's like, come on, come into agreement with me. Come into agreement with me. Come on, get into contract with me. Like, no, that thing is coming to invade your bloodline. So even the healed versions of you, okay, it will attract toxic people because your energy feel good, okay? You feel good to them. Being around you, it feels good to them, okay? They just sucking all the goodness off of you, okay? So I did want to mention that too, okay? So it's not just, we're on our healing journey, but just know that even as you heal, they still going to try knocking at the door. Keep the door shut, okay? Keep the door shut, all right? So another reason we attract toxic people is we lack boundaries. Y'all, I promise y'all gonna hear that word coming out my mouth probably every episode of this season. Boundaries. Boundaries. I'm gonna say it hard just like that. Boundaries. Okay. Because we need it to heal, all right? When we don't have a strong sense, like us, when we don't have a strong sense of where we end and others begin, it becomes easy to tolerate disrespect or overfunction in relationships. And that was me. That was me. Dysfunction has become so normalized in our lives that peace now feels boring and chaos feels like home. Ain't that crazy? Like, that is crazy to me. But that is real. That is reality. And that was a part of my reality. Peace feels boring and chaos feels like home. Because if that's all that you know, that's all that you know. That's all that you know. All right. So let's work on identifying like the toxicity within relationship. What it look like? What does it look like? Within a family unit, it can look like the lack of love and respect. It can look like harsh criticism, people not taking responsibility for their actions. It looks like control. It looks like abuse, and abuse in all forms, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, financial, like in all forms. In all forms. It can look like gaslighting. And if you don't know what gaslighting is a form of manipulation where you have a toxic person in the story. So as the story is being told, right, you have the toxic person who totally distorts the truth to make the non-toxic person question like reality, in all honesty. They're questioning, like, is this even happen? Did I make this up? They'll even question they will have you questioning your own sanity, okay? That was me. Not, I was the one being gaslit. Let me clear that up, okay? I was questioning my own. I was like, am I crazy? I can't be crazy. Am I crazy? All right, so let's look at, and listen, this little list I've compiled, this is my personal list. There are things that I just wanted to write down real quick that I experienced in these different areas. You compile your list, okay? Compile your list, because you are going to need to take inventory of the people who are around you, okay? And in your life, because some people are going to need that ejection, okay? They're going to need to get ejected out that seat, all right? So let's talk about what it looks like in friendships, okay? It can look like lack of support. It can look like them disrespecting your boundaries. It can look like jealousy, or they're constantly competing with you as opposed to supporting you, or they're putting you down. They're diminishing your self-worth. It looks like manipulation. It looks like they're always needing something from you, and, they trying to get you to overfunction in relationships. It looks like them gossiping about you or lying on you, okay? All right, let's move on. In the workplace, manipulation, micromanagement, bullying, okay? Colleagues sabotaging colleagues. It looks like verbal abuse, gossip, negative environment, low morale. It looks like drama. Okay, they bring all the drama in the workplace. It's just like, you ain't got nothing to do. Get to work. Okay, but all right. Work burnout. That is a thing. They will work you. No, they will work you. They will work you. All right. Church. Okay. Within the church community or church folk. Okay. Let's just go with the top two that everybody says. Manipulation and control. Manipulation and control. Everybody says that first. But it also looks like superiority. It looks like shaming, gossiping, creating drama, bullying, the cliques, okay? Those, people promoting division, the groupie thing. Like, oh no, you don't look like us, you don't sound like us, where are you from? You're not from here, we don't know you, what? Okay, keeping the unresolved conflict going. And a big thing too that I see a lot of now is how we just, oh, well, that's just part of it. And I'm like, that's what we got to say? Like, there is no, okay, all right, if that's how it operates, it's like, we don't need to change it. We can just walk away. You know what I mean? Like, and that's for any relationship. Like, any relationship, we shouldn't be in it where we are trying to change people. We can take a stand, we could set our boundaries and so on. Look, I'm getting ahead of myself because let me just keep this right here. Let me keep this right here. Okay, let's go to romantic relationships because I'm definitely getting ahead of myself because I'm going to talk about boundaries in this one. All right, romantic relationships, okay? Controlling, manipulation. It looks like disrespect. It looks like abuse in all forms. Again, it looks like the lack of support, the silent treatment, ignoring your needs, isolating you from friends and family, jealousy, possessiveness. And let me tell you something, that possessiveness, that's not cute. That is not cute. We will mistake that. Women mistake possessiveness for love. That is not love. That is dangerous. Those are red flags. Okay? That is not cute. And that is not safe. That is not safe for you. Okay, so we talked about what it looks like in these different areas. And like I said, all this is interchangeable, right? Let's talk about how we're going to fix this. How are we fixing this? Healing begins with awareness. So we're going to start by tracing the pattern. Toxic relationships start with a familiar feeling, not a familiar person. It's a familiar feeling. So what I want you to do is, and you can journal this later, however you want to do this, but I need you to ask yourself some questions, and you're going to need to go back, okay? You need to go back and study some stuff, study your life, okay? I want you to start by asking yourself, where have I experienced this before? Or when have I felt this before? So like if something goes on within a relationship in any area, I don't care if it's, family, friends, church, at work, wherever it is, right? Ask yourself, if you know you're not feeling good, if you know it ruffled your feathers, it left you feeling sad or angry or just like uncertain about, like, ask yourself the questions like, no, where have I experienced this before? Or when have I felt this before, right? Is this familiarity painful or is it unhealthy? Like, which one is it? Like, am I feeling pain? Or I'm just like, this looks a little toxic. Like, what is it? Okay. And what can you associate it with? Like, go back to where did you feel that? Again, where did I feel this before? How far can you go back? How far can you trace this back? You could very well be drawn to someone because they remind you of an old wound that has not healed. Okay, so not that you're attracted to the person, it's the wounds, okay? It reminds you of an old wound that hasn't healed. So now you have that feeling, and again, our system's a little messed up. And it's confusing it for connection, and that is not connection, okay? Once you have identified this, though, we're going to need to shift, okay? It's time to shift because we need to heal that wound so we can stop, being attracted to that as well, okay? We need to heal that wound. We need to give it attention, all right? Give it attention. It is to the child that's on the inside of us, right? The needs that have not been met, and we need to meet the need. What is the need that is not being met? This is going to help you get to the root of the issue. And when you identify the root, you'll be able to create a better coping mechanism that does not include toxicity, okay? Because now it's just like, okay, well, this is what it really was. Now, what do I need to do to meet that need on the inside of me, okay? Because I'm telling you now, we are stopping the toxic cycle. It will not keep going. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to break the cycle by rebuilding ourselves. Toxic relationships often reflect how we feel about ourselves. So if you struggle with low self-esteem or fear of rejection or feeling responsible for other people's emotions, you very well may tolerate toxic behavior just so you can avoid being alone. And that's toxic. Y'all gonna be so tired of hearing that word, boundaries and toxic. Y'all be like, stop saying it. Stop saying it. I told you these might be the times you're gonna put me on mute. Like, I don't want to listen to her no more. But don't do that, friend. Don't do that. We're healing. We going somewhere. Okay, so healing those internal beliefs will help you to stop settling, right? And this is not about somebody else changing, right? So it's not that the person that maybe you're attracted to, you're involved with, and again, this is not just romantic. This is in any category, okay? It's not about them changing. It's about you changing. On this healing journey, we are working on changing ourselves, not the people in our lives, and especially not the toxic people in our lives, okay? They got their own journey they got to walk out, okay? So I want to ask you, because we're building ourselves up, right? We're building ourselves up. How do you talk to yourself? And for this next week, I want you to track it. For the week, track how you talk to yourself. And if you ain't talking to yourself right, girlfriend, it's time to shift, right? And how do we shift? We speak affirmations. When you start speaking affirmations, right, those affirmations will build you up. And then as you're building yourself up, Now you starting to redefine your standards. Now your standards aren't so low, right? So some of these people are not going to make the list. They're not going to make the list because you don't redefine your standards. Your standards is high because you built yourself up. And now you're like, oh, I'm not settling for that. Like, oh, I'm not settling for that, okay? So I do want you to start by making a list, and I want you to be specific about your standards, okay? What do you expect out of a relationship? And this is whether it's family, whether it's friends, whether it's coworkers, whether it's, your relationship with the people in church that you go to or whatever. And I always like to throw church stuff in there because I'm a God's girl and I know how to think. Listen, I know, okay? That's all I'm going to say. What do you expect out of the relationship? And be specific. Write it down. It could be something like, hey, I want to feel heard when I speak. I need you to respect my no. When I say no, it's no. Like, don't be like, but why? And no. I said no. Okay, I need you to respect my no. It can be, I want mutual effort in the relationship. Okay. And you make your list. You make it as long as you need it to be. Okay. And as you make your list, it will become your filter moving forward. So if someone consistently fails to meet that standard, you already know what to do. You already know what to do. You're not kicking them out of your life. They're choosing not to be a part of it. They're choosing not to be a part of it because they don't want to participate in the mutual standards. You're not asking them for anything other than what you are also offering them. All right, so keep that in mind because we are not settling. We're not lowering anything. We're not lowering the bar. We're only raising the bar, okay? Can you guess what I'm about to say next? Set your boundaries. Set your boundaries. Teach people how to treat you. That goes hand in hand with your standards. I spoke about boundary setting in the other episodes, and I do have a blog on my website about it. So you can even go on there. It's very specific, but I'm going to be quick about this on here. Just be clear and be direct in your expression. Expect resistance because that always comes. That's what happens when you start setting boundaries. Expect resistance, but stand your ground anyway. Because people will be like, they are used to you not having boundaries. They like that version of you. So when you start when you start now, it's like, oh, hold up, let me put the block. They're like, wait, what? Like all this time I've been able to do this, that, the other. Now you changing up? Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm changing up. I'm setting a standard. I suggest you do the same if you want to be in my life. I mean, that's just what it is. And people don't have to be completely exited. They just can't be, within the inner circle. They can be, within the outer circle, like the villagers, like, oh, that's somebody that live in this neighborhood. Or that's somebody that live in that town, right? They just got to be, they need a new seat. A seat that's not so close to you. Okay. No, but seriously, expect the resistance, stand your ground anyway, because the truth is boundaries help you heal. All right. So you do have a choice to make. Are you going to choose what is healthy or what is familiar? Okay. Sometimes we mistake what feels familiar for real connection. You might find yourself attracted to people who feel like home, even though home was chaotic and critical and abusive. Your body will crave it because it's used to it, not because it's good for you. And that's like anything, because you already know if you're on your healing journey, you need to be on your healthy journey too, because that's what we do. All of that goes hand in hand, right? And when your body's used to eating a certain type of way, it may not be craving the cucumbers and the tomato, okay? It may be craving the burger or the pizza, right? But you like, that's not good for you right now. That's not good for you right now. All right, we got goals. Vacation's coming up. Right? Your body will crave what it is used to, not necessarily what's good for you, right? But that means that healthy relationships, that they do feel boring in the beginning, right? Because you're reprogramming yourself. So even if entering into that healthy relationship feels awkward because it will. It's something different. It's something new. It may feel boring if you're used to drama and chaos and that adrenaline. It may even feel fake. And some of them are. So you got to be careful, y'all. Y'all need discernment. Don't play around. Y'all need discernment. But it may feel fake. But that is because your nervous system, it hasn't caught up to your new standards yet, right? So there's like a complete reprogramming happening here, okay? So if you've gotten this far, which is to the end because I'm wrapping this up, I want to say this. Toxic relationship patterns. They are passed down not by intention, but by example. Okay? Toxic relationship patterns are passed down not by intention, but by example. You are repeating what you saw because it is all you ever knew. But you get to break that cycle. Now, this is not going to happen all at once, and it's surely not going to happen overnight. This is a one day at a time, one better choice at a time, one healthy boundary at a time, okay? We're not rushing the process. Now, I do want you to repeat this affirmation after me, and it is a little lengthy, okay? But we need to say this. All right. I am no longer available for relationships that cost me my peace, my dignity, or my sense of self. I release the patterns that kept me stuck, and I choose what aligns with my healing. I am allowed to grow. I am allowed to protect my space. I am allowed to expect more. I am not broken. I am breaking cycles, and there is no shame in that. And from this moment forward, I choose healthy over familiar. All right, mamas. Until next time, love you, girlfriend. Hey, girlfriend. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If this episode spoke to you, I encourage you to subscribe and share it with someone who needs to hear it. New episodes drop every week, and I'd love to stay connected with you in between. So follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at It's Melissa Baez. Or you can visit my website at www.melissabaez.com for more encouragement and resources. Until next time, stay inspired, stay connected, and I'll see you in the next episode.